Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Pugs' channel. I'm doing something a little different tonight. I've been playing a lot of Chivalry Medieval Warfare lately, and while I've tried to do a few different weapons, over time I've found I've been relying more and more on the very first weapon I used, the Humble Spear. So tonight, in this video, I'm going to explain some of the tips and tricks that I've learnt along the way on how to use the spear to the best effect in the game. In this video, I'm assuming that you are already playing Chivalry and you understand the basics of combat. So the first thing you need to know about the spear in Chivalry is that your mouse wheel down attack, which is usually your overhead bashing attack, has been replaced with a lunging thrust attack. This is the attack that I use probably about 70% of the time in combat. It's basically your go-to attack, followed by the mouse wheel up, which is a stab attack. Your left mouse button will still make the horizontal sideways swinging attack, but it does the smallest amount of damage and it's frankly not very much use. Compared to the stab, which pretty much does more damage for the same sort of role. It can be useful for knocking back multiple attackers, but it's very rare. I use it about 1% of the time, and pretty much every time I use it, it's by accident. Your lunge attack is where the spear shines, though. The spear has the longest reach of any weapon in Chivalry, and it's with the lunge attack that it gets that reach. It also has the most damage of all of your attacks. It will take off more than half of a Vanguard's health in one hit, so 2 lunge hits on a Vanguard, or obviously a Man-at-Arms or an Archer, and you've got yourself a kill. That is what racks up most of my kills. The overhead stab attack is also extremely useful, because it's a little bit quicker than the thrust attack, the lunging thrust. So your mouse wheel up is your stab. It does less damage also, so it takes about 3 stabs to take a Vanguard down, but the change in pace between the stab and the thrust is where a lot of your kills will come from. Because they're both lunging attacks, you can kind of suck your opponent into thinking you're doing all these slow lunges, and then suddenly switch it up with a fast stab, and that often catches your opponents off guard. So that's the basics. But how do you actually win fights in Chivalry using the spear? Well, it's all about the reach of your weapon. When using your lunge attack, no other weapon in the game has a reach as long as yours, which creates a really interesting dynamic between you and your opponent, because for your opponent to hit you, they first need to move through that zone where you're able to hit them, but they're not able to hit you. When you attack them in this zone, even if you hit them, even if they block it or parry it, they get knocked back a little bit, which again puts distance between you, and they again have to move through that zone before they can hit you. If you combine this with just steadily moving backwards, it means you can really effectively keep a single opponent at a distance and unable to get a hit in on you, while you have free reign to either batter on their shield, which can wear down their stamina and reduce their options in turn, or get some sneaky hits in to take off their health. And this is what the majority of your battles will boil down to. Moving so that you keep your enemy in that kill zone, the zone where you're able to hit them, but they're unable to hit you. The most important attribute you can have as a player when using the spear is patience. The longer you keep your opponent in that kill zone, the more frustrated they get, and the more likely they are to make a mistake, which will allow you to get a hit in. And those mistakes usually happen in one of 2 ways. Usually a frustrated enemy will wait until they've blocked or parried one of your attacks, and then they will charge in, swinging their weapon at you. In order to counter this, as soon as one of your attacks is blocked or parried, you just hold down the back button. This increases the distance that your opponent has to cover before they get within range of hitting you, which gives you more time to get your next thrust in. Typically what will happen is either your opponent will swing too early and they'll miss, and then your counter attack will hit them while they're unable to block or parry, or they'll swing too late, and by the time they're swinging, your attack is already hitting them and interrupting their attack, which protects you in turn. I estimate that this one tactic nets me about 80 to 90% of the kills that I get using the spear. You could walk away from this video now, practice just that, and you'd probably do just as well. The rest of what I'll go into in this video is looking at what you do against those top-notch players, the veterans, as well as some tips and tricks for how to deal with multiple opponents. I'll do that by looking at some of the clips that I've incorporated into this video. So this next one just really goes over the basics itself. So we're pushing the cart, that guy jumps or attacks too early, and just at the edge of my range, I'm managing to get the spear into them. They're trying to get into range to hit me, but I'm keeping them at that extreme long range of my attack range. And I actually get saved by a friendly arrow there. That sword would have taken my head off, probably. Now in this one, I've seen an enemy coming up in towards me. This guy's actually a pretty good player. He's got the hang of blocking. He goes the long overhead. And really, we're just trading back here. I went a feint there, and I managed to get it in, but unfortunately, I couldn't track him, and I just missed. So I managed to get past his defenses, but then I completely missed. That one was he tried a feint, but I was already in the middle of my attack, and he wasn't able to complete it in time. This guy, Men-at-Arms are one of the trickiest opponents for spears. I'll go into him a little bit more later, but that little dash in, it kind of effectively negates a lot of the reach of your weapon. So you've really got to, once they get in close, you're relying much more on that quick overhead stab, which is your mouse wheel forward. Now, spear versus spear, I mean, it's dead even, so it really doesn't matter what you do in this case. In that case, I got in close and went the fast stab. Because a lot of spear users do rely on that lunge, it can net you a kill. Alright, into a multi-fight here. Now, using the charge. The charge for the Vanguard, I haven't talked about it yet. It's the Vanguard special ability, but it's as much of a death trap as it is a positive. The times to use it are just then, when I wanted to get on the catapult really quickly. That guy had seen me, so I wanted to finish the fight early. It does tons of damage, so it's great for that, but it's a real liability too. It's good to use against unaware opponents because of that extra damage. So, yeah, so if you need to finish a fight quickly, go it. It's a bit of a gamble, but you can work. And against archers, it's good too. Now, this Vanguard shows up early. I kind of disguise my charge behind the pillar there. I managed to pick him up before turning around. So, yeah, unaware opponents, battles where you have to end it quickly are good. But anything else, as you can see here, this is what you do to counter a charge. You move towards your opponent as if you're going to engage them, and then you just back off as they start their lunge and they end up short and you get a free stab in. One stab is half the battle done. As you see, one follow-up stab and he's down from full health. That's all it takes. 2 stabs for anything other than a knight. Here we've got multiple opponents. I've managed to get him behind. Now this is kind of the easiest fight you can get. A one-on-one versus a slow two-handed weapon user. It kind of maximizes all the benefits you can get. Now you see my opponent here, who is Trauma actually, is trying to get in close and have enough time to swing that big heavy hammer. It takes doing so. He kind of has to work his way forward, block, get in closer, block again, and then try to get a stab off after a third block pretty much. The slower your opponent's weapon is, the more time you have to get that stab in. Now, very, very close combat here, but the feint is the other thing you should use against a two-handed weapon user. Go in for the stab, feint, they'll block, easy stab, follow-up stab for the hit. Man-at-Arms, and this is another two-hander. BB, I think this is BB. No, this is Trauma again. He's still got a two-heavy hammer. Backs off for the axes. Dodge, dodge. Come back in. Now, you see my attack interrupted his, so he couldn't do it. He was a bit slow on his parry. His attack falls short, so I get a free hit on him. The feint, follow-up stab, win. Men-at-Arms, if they do that, they're really good. That is the best way to counter a spear player, in my opinion. Wait until they just miss you with the stab, and then dive in and quick slash. It's the hardest opponent you can face. That was a nice quick slash by that Vanguard, but the slash doesn't do much damage. So you can see my health is still over half. So he may have gotten a hit on me, but it's still going to take him 2 more hits to finish me off, which is exactly the same as 2 lunges from full health. That Man-at-Arms wasn't quite... He didn't pull off what the previous Man-at-Arms did. He wasn't quite able to get the swing in before I got my follow-up in. Shield opponents are another frustrating opponent. So it is really hard to get past a shield, especially by knights, because you've got to hit them so many times. So you can see that's how you counter a spear. You move up, you block, you move up a bit closer, you block again. But he's lost so much stamina that he's starting to get fatigued. And you see, that's why I'm just hammering on his shield here. He gets a free hit on me, unfortunately. 2 free hits even. Bang, he's staggered again. The problem is, in a 1v1, stamina basically means nothing. Except against Men-at-Arms. They can't do their jump in if they've got no stamina. But against something like a knight, they always have enough stamina to attack, and they always have enough stamina to block. So it's kind of, I was trying to press my advantage with the stamina, but really it's not an advantage. Here's another man-at-arms. He gets in nice and close. When they do get in close, it does allow you to do a sidestep. They swing, their screen is momentarily covered, and it gives you a chance just to quickly change your momentum around the side and get one of those quick stabs in. That's the best way I found to counter men-at-arms, or anybody who gets up close. Like with this, see the change in direction there? I was going left all the time, and then I suddenly went right and stab in behind. They can't block it if you've gotten around to the side. Anybody who gets up nice and close and cuddly, that's the best answer I've found. You don't want to be in that position to begin with, but that's it. This is multiple opponents. Quite often with multiple opponents, they get greedy. They think you're a definite kill, and they go in, they want to be the one who scores the kill. So they become really aggressive and they stop concentrating on defense. When fighting multiple opponents, it's a very good idea to keep them all in your line of sight. And quite often what I'll do is watch one opponent and start an attack while watching one opponent, and then suddenly switch it over and attack somebody else. Usually that other one thinks you're a free hit and are coming in without any thought of defense, and you'll get them here. This video now is an example of trying to keep every opponent in front of me. If anybody gets behind you, you're gone. I make the mistake of going in to save my friend. I get one of his opponents, but then somebody's managed to get in behind me. And here, I'm trapped in the corner. I think I get this guy. Yes, I get that guy, but then I get trapped in the corner, and against a fist, it's too fast, and there's a second guy there. I can't get out of it. I can't swing fast enough to interrupt him, so I'm gone. In this case, this was another one where I threw one axe at one person, and then suddenly switched my attention and threw it at the other one, and got a free hit there. He wasn't trying to dodge or anything. Start this one off with a stab. Okay, now I've got two opponents, but they're trying to flank me, so always try to maneuver so that you can keep your eye on both of them. So I keep running in between them here, which also aids in frustrating them. And then you can see I had them both in front of me, and I got a double kill by stabbing through both of them. Very rare that happens, but usually you pick off one, and then it becomes a 1v1, and then all your usual skills come in. Another really good thing about the spear is when you've got friendlies around, it is such a safe weapon, because you're not doing those big swings around your body. You're not hitting friendlies with your backswing or anything like that. You just stab in at your enemy through a little gap, and that's it. As long as your opponents don't move right in front of you, it's pretty safe. And even if they do, you can often look like straight up into the sky, stab straight up into the sky. Sure, you look like an idiot, but you're not hitting your friend. And the long reach means that you're not often you're not stopping your opponent, your friendlies, from being able to back off from the fight if they want to. So that was a really successful fight, that one. Now here we've got another one. So again, I want to keep, and that guy makes the mistake of lunging. Just back off a little bit, come back in with the counter attack, and there you go, easily hit. He went down very quickly. I've done it myself too. It's so satisfying when you got a good charge in that I often do it. I mean, it is fun when you get them off, but from a purely strategic value point, it's more of a liability in those situations. Against a good player, they'll just use it to their advantage, and you'll pay for it. Crossbowmen. Now, archers are another thing that you've got to kind of consider when playing it. You don't have a shield as a vanguard with a spear, so just dodge left and right. Mate, it's so hard to hit a moving target in this game. Okay, multiple enemies again. He gets in early, gets in close. But I'm still trying to maneuver to keep all of my opponents in one direction, which has the added bonus that often your opponents will take each other out. You can see one of my opponents went down to a friendly fire there, just because they were trying to get past each other so they can get the stab in on me, and they eventually get frustrated, they go in swinging and accidentally take their mate's head off who can't even see it coming. So keep all of your opponents in front of you. And also make sure you've got enough room to maneuver. In this little video I'm kind of showing how... Oh, too late for that one. What's this one? Okay, so this is an example of using the terrain to your advantage. So normally you want to be in open spaces so that you can maneuver, keep your enemies all in one area. We push in here. I don't know, this shield guy who's with me, I have no idea who this is. This was just purely kind of spontaneous pub play. But he backs off to the door, which I was going to do anyway. I was like, I'm sorry, mate, I'm going to leave you to die. But he backed off with me, which was really smart. So he's just blocking there. Look, these guys cannot get past him. Unfortunately, I reward him by accidentally stabbing him in the back. I thought I'd missed, but I've softened them up enough that they can't get through this gate by just simply rushing through. 3 of them try, all die. Unfortunately, the best one sticks around to last. And we go into an extended fight. I'm quite low. 1 hit will kill me now, so I'm playing quite defensively, and you can see I'm trying to get that. Now, that was a feint. Unfortunately, my feint was too slow, and he managed to get a second block in. Managed to recover from his first block and get the second one in. Now, they're both getting up, and I want to try to get back through that door, but I just get caught on the edge, and he just manages to clip me. So, well done to that opponent, that other vanguard there. He did well. Okay, here's another example of, I think, sidestepping in this one. So he's right up in my face. He's being very aggressive. Get around the side and get that stab in. That old charge again. You don't do it against wary opponents. Do it against unaware opponents or archers who have their ranged weapon out. And this one, okay, so they've managed to get through the gate, and unfortunately that means they're now spawning right in front of me, so I'm in trouble. But you just become the king. That's a pro tip. Just when you're in trouble, just become the king. And finally, here's our last little clip. Okay, so there's quite a few opponents there. Boom! Thank you, enemy catapult user. You just wiped out 3 of your friendlies for 1 of our guys. Catapults. Anyway, I hope I've inspired you to give the spear a try in Chivalry. If you're not playing already, grab it. It's often on a Steam sale, and it's well worth it. It's a great fun game.